Hello friends. While the golf world is humming with anticipation of the Ryder Cup coming up in 3 weeks, there's another match play tournament that even predates it, which is being played this weekend at Cypress Point in the Monterey area. And it's called the Walker Cup match. I say singular because they're very distinct about saying not matches, but match. And it's an amateur tournament between teams from the US and Great Britain and Ireland. That's similar to the Ryder Cup, which then in the late 70s converted to including the European teams, players. But in fact, the Walker Cup has never changed. And it's played every other year, very similarly to the Ryder Cup. And it's teams of amateur golfers. Now, I was lucky enough to be at the last iteration of the Walker Cup that was played, and the only other time, at Cypress Point, which is the most beautiful golf course imaginable on the northern border of the Carmel Bay, and opposite Lobos Point, which Robert Louis Stevenson very famously described as the greatest meeting of land and sea in the world. So you can imagine how gorgeous it is. And in that match, I was able to watch several people who went on to great fame. And I'll mention a couple. There was Corey Pavin, who ended up being a captain of the Ryder Cup team. He also won the US Open. And he was playing against an enormous Englishman who, because he's not huge, Corey Pavin, his opponent towered above him, and as they walked along the course, it was quite amusing to watch. And he was down going into the last couple of holes and was absolutely rugged and unbelievably efficient at squaring the match up. Ended up with a winning record in the Walker Cup. Wonderful player. And I'm particularly fond of him because his coach at college was somebody who, at the same time that I was developing the notion that a golf swing should be thought of as a descending spiral rather than the in-to-out direct upper ramp kind of approach, his coach taught him that, and he was often noted to be doing an unusual practice swing where the swing went elaborately down and around him, and he was doing it long before it became more famous because Tiger Woods started doing it in 2010. And so he told me once, or passed a message to me through a mutual friend, that it was his coach that taught him to do that, because I had sent a message to him saying, you were ahead of your time and everybody's catching up with you, and well done. So the other one was Hal Sutton, who won the PGA Championship 2 years later in 1983 after he had turned pro. And he won at Riviera, and I was lucky enough to be there to watch that too, which was wonderful. He beat Jack Nicklaus by a stroke. And my only claim to fame is that I was at dinner that evening, and who was at the table next to me but Hal Sutton. Wonderful. Then there was Jay Siegel, and Jay Siegel was on the American team, the winning team of the Walker Cup. And Jay Siegel never turned pro, and he was sort of like Bobby Jones, an amateur golfer of great consequence. And he was on several Walker Cup teams. He won the many amateur championships, the US Amateur and a few others. And the time that I met him, only once, it was where he was hitting little chip shots. And he was able to hit a flop shot, which is a shot that you take a full swing with, but it goes nowhere. And he could do it off of any lie. He had big, powerful hands. You'd think that would be some sort of an obstacle to having that kind of touch, but he just did it as if it were nothing. And just a lovely man. I enjoyed meeting him very much. So look for the Walker Cup because it's on right now, and it's a wonderful thing.